Welcome to Noobshido Games. My name is Steven. This is Kamen Rider 01 Episode 24 review. The title is It Is Our Turn, and this is a great episode, I think. I know last episode um, there was kind of more comedic episode. It's not tons of action, and it's kind of like it's still kind of filler episode the last episode, but this one kind of moved the story forward a little bit. But we did get to see uh, Arudo um, finally gain control of the metal cluster uh, hopper form, and also Guy kind of get a beating there after Arudo gained total control of metal cluster. Not like Guy was winning before, but definitely the fight scene near the end of this episode was great. So the episode starts off with Arudo fighting Guy, kind of like the continuation from episode 23. They're fighting outside the church. Um, Arudo used the mammoth poke rise key on his axe rise weapon, and Guy uses the jack rise. Was able to somehow take the mammoth data, and then they both launch the Buster Bomber move at the same time, but Arudo somehow wins out, and then then you see Isu and the Human Gear actor, which was the priest from the previous episode, um, came out of the church, and then you see Guy um, after taking the mammoth data. Um, he uses the thousand rise. I think whenever they call whatever rise must be the form of the weapon. Then so he uses the thousand rise to launch the thousand break, which is a new kind of special move that we didn't see before. It's quite interesting. It actually contains like 8 of the progress key data that he stole in previous episodes in the series. Um, the 8 progress key, from what I can tell, is the Falcon, the Hornet, the Cheetah, uh, the Kong or the Gorilla. There's the Tiger, Shark, Wolf, and Mammoth, which he just stole at the beginning of this episode. And he was able to launch that thousand break attack and pretty much just make the metal cluster form um, back to transform back to human form. That Rudo's got kind of couldn't block that attack. I guess it's just too powerful. Um, then after that, um, you see the actor Human Gear approach Guy and said that he received some kind of revelation from the arc, because if you're watching it, you can tell that his eye kind of flashes red, and like as if like arc somehow sent him some info or something. So Guy found that interesting and told the human gear to just follow him and to tag along. Um, no, so it was a decent fight. We get to see in this scene, Guys still have some special move, um, which even the metal cluster form um, could not somehow find ways to block it. Because if you look back at previous fights, Arudo always in his metal cluster form wins out. Uh, this is the first time that we see that Guy actually have a move that could break him. Um, but anyways, what I thought was interesting is I believe from what I remember, the metal cluster key was created by Guy and Yua at the at the base, um, using the computer that's connected to the arc, I guess. The whole point of that key is to somehow, it's kind of like a virus to the 01 driver to lock Aruto out of his other pulverize key, so that he can only use the metal cluster key, but that will cause him to lose self control. But there are many times from previous episode I thought that like Guy could have just either take the metal cluster key back, then Aruto would never be able to transform. Like then he would have won. But I guess then there wouldn't be any story. Um, Plus, it seems like Guy maybe don't have full control of the arc. Um, so, and he's kind of challenging the arc in some way, like testing himself. So um, he he gets beats like over and over again in previous episode, but he still keep trying. So he must have other goals in mind. Um, so then what happened after is we switch to the hospital scene where Aruto is just recovering from his last fight with Guy. You see Izu was standing there, and then the doctor human gear from a previous episode uh, shows up and explains to Aruto that the metal cluster key has inflicted considerable amount of damage to his body, but Aruto said he's still worried about the human gear might lose control, so he wants to protect the human gear, that he believes in them. So um, then we see another cameo from Match the Human Gear, the marriage consultant from previous episode shows up. He's fully restored because if you recall, he kind of blew up in the episode 23, at the end of episode 23. So, anyways, Match explained to Aruto that he actually went berserk on purpose in the last episode just so he could set up Miss Evie and her childhood friend. Um, I guess that explains why um, he turned into a Magia after a slap, just a face slap last time. So in the last episode, so he explained to Aruto that originally he was going to go berserk, pretend to go berserk, but the arc's influence was too intense, so he actually turned into a Margia. And then Izu told oh no, then there was a scene where that shows that Miss Evie and her friend actually is gonna get married. So happy ending for those two. Then we see Izu told Naruto that leave the metal cluster key to her. Uh, she told him to believe in the human gears and she'll take care of it. And then you see Izu walked out of the the room and starting to send a message to all the human gear to initiate the plan. Apparently they have some kind of plan. So, and then the next scene we switch to Horobi and Fua. Horobi in still in the interrogation room or jail or whatever you call it. So, so he said that the Matsubon Jinrai .net is acting according with the will of the arc, and that he thinks eventually all human gears will follow the will of the arc. So this scene pretty much Horobi is trying to mess with Fua, just messing with his thought. He's asking Fua like how does he's no different than than him. But then, of course, Fua didn't like that. He said he um, he follows his own. He make his own rule. He doesn't follow anybody blindly. Um, he got angry with what Horobi was saying and just kind of kicked down the defenseless Horobi because he's just sitting in the chair tied up. But Fua still got up and just gave him a good kicking. Um, no, this scene is kind of interesting. I found because if you, I forgot which episode it was. There's still a mystery about who that hooded figure was. Um, and previously we seen Fua was following that hooded figure into a dark room, and then you hear like a loud noise, or like, if I remember correctly, and nothing happened. Like we didn't see any follow up as to what happened to Fua when he was in the room. So maybe perhaps that hooded figure did something to Fua, and then and Fu was probably not even aware or remembered. Uh, so, anyways, the next scene we see Guy uh, um, and the the actor Humor Gear, um, and the Humor Gear told Guy that he can hack into hidden intelligence from within their own system, and then I think Guy is happy about that. That maybe he can get someone to work from the inside of Hidden, uh, and that maybe he can sabotage them some more. Then we switch scene again to we get to see like another cameo from the astronaut and the carpenter Humor Gear. Um, you see them; they actually found the Horobi's old hideout, or the Matsubo Jinrai base. So the astronaut Humigir reports to Ishu that he has obtained the data from the hidden me- uh, metal and the metal cluster key from the computer. So pretty much he was like downloading the information from the computer regarding the metal cluster key. Um, then Acer sent a message to all the human gears, um, telling them that they she needs their help, that they need examples of goodness to override the evil data on the cluster key, um, and then you see that then you see all the human gear start pulling out these blank Pogrice key, and they like, uh, and Israel did the same thing. She scanned that Pogrice key onto, like, they had these marking or barcode. For Israel, it was in the back of her hand, left hand, and then for the astronaut, I think it was in the on his neck or something. They have it in different places, but it's kind of cool that when they scan these blank Pogrice key, um, then they will review like their name and their profession. Um, so, and then the next thing you see is just screenshots of these different progress key from previous human gear that Arudo has helped. So we see the astronaut, we see the carpenter, the doctor, the realtor, the security guard, the lawyer, the sushi chef, the postman, the actor, the cartoonist, and then the festival entertainer. Um, so all together, including Isu, altogether there's like 12 of those pork rice key. And then right after that, then we switch to Aruro's lab, where a postman delivered a packet to Issue. It was just fold of those Humor Gears Pogrize key, and then you see Issue's putting all the keys into these racks next to a computer, um, which is hooked up to the 01 drivers, and she put the Rising Hopper keys in it, um, and then she initiated the machine in the lab to start fabricating a new weapon. Um, and then the next scene we uh, switch to um, Guy in his office. Uh, then she received a phone call from Yua telling him that someone has infiltrated the the Matsubun Jinrai base, and data has been extracted. So Guy's got pissed off. He kind of have an idea that it must be the actor Humor Gears pretending to side with him to get the location of the base. So um, then you see him um, approach the actor Humor Gear, and the actor Humor Gear admitted that it was his intention all along. So Guy decided to give him a beating, but just beating him up is not enough. He has to uh, make him into he turns the actor human gear into a magia by using the Arsino key, and then Guy turned into Thouser and start just kicking his ass. Um, then the next scene we switch to the back to the hospital where Arudo was at, still recovering. The Dr. Humagear informed Arudo that the actor Humagear has gone berserk, um, and then of course Haruto was concerned and kind of trying to go help save the actor Humagear. And then we also switch to a screen where we see that the new weapons has completed in the lab, and it's called the Poke Rise Hopper Blade. Um, then we switch to the next scene where back to where Guy is beating on the actor Magia form. Then you see Arudo shows up uh, without like his 01 driver. Um, then luckily you see Izu was able to find where Arudo was at and give him the driver and the key and tell him that he should transform. Arudo was hesitant at first, but because Izu is the one that told him to transform, so he did that. Uh, and then once he transformed, of course, um, he started approaching uh, Guy in his Thouser form, and then right before then, you see Izu kind of jump from a pretty high place. It's pretty amazing. Well, she's not. I guess maybe all human gear can do it, but she apparently did like a flip, jumped over the metal cluster uh, hopper, and landed right in front of him. Turns around and pass him the new weapon, the Progrise Hopper Blade. Yeah, that's what it's called. Um, so and the blade looks a lot like Thouser's weapon, the the Jack Rise, I think, or I think that's what it's called. Just like a little different design and different color, of course. Uh, then of course Aluro, um, you see as soon as he gets the blade, he totally like all these pretty much his armor kind of left in these locust form, and then all flies into his blade, and then he get transformed back again, and he's realized that he can take control of his form now. So um, then Arturo launches his attack, what he called finish rise, and using the poke rising slash on Guy. Um, then Guy uses the humor gear in his Magier form as a shield to block the attack. Um, then and what's yeah. So what happened is that Guy uses the Magia as a shield, and then the Magia turns back into human gear form, and it appears that the sword has the ability to uh, rectify the arc's hacking, um, and it can help the a berserk human gear turns back into his regular form, non-berserk, I guess, form. So even Guy was surprised with Arudo's new power with this new weapon. Then that's not all. Arudo actually uh, start combining his previous weapons that he had, like the briefcase one. You know how it can turn into a sword. He combines that with his new sword, and then he uses this ultimate rise form, and with the special move ultimate slash, I think. Then Guy again got his ass kicked and loses his transformation. Um, although it's not the first time he loses, um, he still say that he doesn't really want to admit he lost, so he said he will win the next competition and put an end to all this. Then he walks away. Now, what's interesting is he mentioned the next competition. Like does he mean just the next time they fight, or is he still talking about the supposedly they're still in this competition, like see who can win. This will be through 5 competition, right? So 3 of them's already done, and then the last episode and this episode did not mention anything about if they're going to continue the competition or not. So I know a lot of people find the competition kind of boring, and so it'll be interesting to see if are they going to continue the rest, which is 2 more competition, um, and interesting to see what they're gonna be, or are they just gonna just drop that completely and just not mention it? Because um, seems like most of those episodes are just fillers, and it's the same formula um, with those competitions. So, um, and then we are back to Arudo's office after the fight, and Isu told Arudo uh, this is all because he has faith with the human gear, so it all worked out. Um, then you see Arudo receive the wedding invitation from Miss CB and her childhood friend. Um, then, of course, Arudo has to crack another joke at the end. Um, most of the time, I don't really get those jokes. Maybe that's what it's supposed to be. Uh, I know previous episode you always see Fua seems to be the only one that laughs at his jokes, but anyways, and then the before the end of the episode we see that back to Fua, and where he found out that Horobi has escaped. So he had no idea how it happened, and then we kind of end episode 24 there. Um, Now, what I thought is interesting is like uh, why bother even give I don't know Horobi a chair in those situations? Like he's just a human gear. Why even let him sit? And that room is strange. Like if he's so dangerous, why isn't there more security around than just him in a dark room sitting on a chair tied up? So um, but it's interesting to know that could it be Fua that released Horobi and he didn't even realize because Horobi kind of teased him about that, like, but Fua insists that he follow his own rules. He doesn't follow anybody, and and again, like I mentioned before, we still don't know what actually happened to Fua when he went into that dark room while chasing the hooded figures. So this is I think it's a great episode. We are in episode 24, so kind of like even probably halfway off the series. Um, and I think each episode should continue move on with the story than having fillers, because otherwise it will be it's not going to be enough episode to wrap up everything. And this episode, we don't even get to see Yua much at all, other than that phone call she did with to Guy, telling him that the base has been infiltrated. Um, so I think so far, I think that Yua's character Valkyrie is kind of, I think, is underused. I think they could have used show her a lot more, and give her different form. Like don't waste the opportunity um, to with to get to see a female rider. So, um, but um, I really enjoyed this episode. I thought the last fight, well, with the metal cluster, Haruto gaining his control back, was a really cool fight. I like that weapon he did, where he combined his briefcase blade with that the new blade of his. It looks awesome. Um, so I really enjoyed the episode. So and that's it for episode 24 um, review. So I will hope you guys enjoy watching it, and if you do, please leave a like and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, and also check out my other videos. Um, and I will see you after episode 25.